So like every coach is different. Like
Absolutely,
what would you say your power moves are, your strength?
Probably the numbers side. So
Yeah.
if you like, a lot of businesses come to us because they're making good revenue,
Yes.
but then there's no money left in the bank at the end of the month after they've paid all their bills and stuff. And they're
Yeah.
like, we're working our butt off here. And
Yeah, that's me too. Yeah. So yeah, we do a lot of that. Yeah.
So the money side of things is a big one, the
Yeah.
profitability side. So we all delve deeper and really understand which service offerings are actually profitable, which ones aren't, where are we over-servicing, where are we, where could we be potentially charging more, and all those types of areas.
Interesting.
So the pricing side of things is a really big one. Just operational efficiencies as well. That's a really big one too. So just understanding this task takes this long. Can we do it? Can we automate it? Is there another system we can use? Are all our systems talking to each other? So there's
you'd be
a
able to
piece
spot
there.
that.
Yes,
You'd be able
absolutely.
to spot that, and then you'd be able to like talk to the business owner more about that.
Correct.
So welcome back to another episode of Marketing AI for SMEs. I'm your host, Jeremy Yang, the online ads guy, founder of Digital Growth Marketing. We aim everything at with the audience, the target audience, 300,000 to revving between 300,000 to 2 mil a year. This channel is created for you. Listen, today I got to talk to Ranya. Ranya is somebody I've met through BNI. She's a business coach, a very reputable business coach. And there's times I spent with her and the stuff we talked about, it's always been really positive. And she's also a fractional CFO and COO, which I didn't know what that was. I know what it is by title, but I don't know exactly what they do and when to start using, when it's the right time to use them. I just wanted to get specifics from all of that. I think that would be helpful to people who's doing between 300,000 to 2 mil. So today I got to speak to her about all this stuff. I think we spent about half hour just diving really deep into it, scenarios, likely outcomes, and I think it was a really good conversation. Yeah, check it out, man. Thanks. Bye. Welcome to the show, to Ranya Akacha from Real Business Matters. Thanks for your time attending here.
Thank you.
So it's Jeremy here, the online ads guy, founder of Digital Growth Marketing. And today we're going to cover things around for small to medium-sized businesses. And Ranya here is actually a fractional CFO / COO, we just found out as well. Yeah. So we're going to explore what that means, how the engagement works, whether or not it works for small businesses. Where does your business have to be before you should consider hiring someone like Ranya to be part of your business. But first, let's start off with the street cred. Like, because I've had a few people on the show. They've always had like a decade or more in the game. Do you know what I mean? And yeah, I'd love to hear your backstory as well.
Where do I start? So I'm an accountant originally. So I studied accounting back at uni long time ago now. Yep. I did my CPA. And then went down the trajectory of corporate career, so Ernst & Young, and worked at Qantas Airways for a while. And in amongst, I always had a kind of an entrepreneurial side. I always wanted, I grew up, like my dad had his own business. My uncles had their own businesses, restaurants and petrol stations and things like that. So I kind of grew up around business. And then, so I wanted to run my own business. I just didn't know what. So while I was at uni, I bought a beauty salon based in CBD. Oh, really?
Yeah. Oh, really?
Yeah. So it was just a friend of mine at uni. We both put in our life savings, I think, at the time. And we bought this beauty salon. It was in a corporate building in the MLC Centre. So it was up on level 9. It wasn't like so it mainly catered to the people in the building. There was specials going on. It was at 2 rooms. I've never had a facial in my life, so I didn't really know the industry. It was just anyway.
Did the numbers make sense or something?
The numbers made sense, and the lady was about to have her 3rd child, so she couldn't keep running. Anyway, it went horribly wrong. Made a lot of mistakes. Did some incorrect marketing things. We lost quite a bit of money on it initially.
Interesting.
And we were able to make some of that back by selling some of the assets and things towards the end. And then after that, went back into corporate, kind of stuck to corporate for a bit, then bought a travel agency. So that was my next business. So I had that for about 7 years or so. And I love that. And I thought, I love travel. I love people. I love making people happy. So I thought, this has got to be the business, right? So after kind of setting it up and it all working really well, I kind of got bored. and I
Right.
was bored of running the day to day.
Can I just
Yes.
ask you for a second, right? Because
Yeah.
I did, I was gyms and tennis for a long time.
Oh,
Then I
yes.
had some, like, probably some deep down insecurities about my father. Not happy with me being a high school dropout. And then I left. I went back to uni, right? But that's not the real story. The story is when I studied accounting.
Yes.
Because business degree, I didn't know what I was going to do, but I
Yeah,
just
yeah.
did a business degree, and one of the subjects is accounting.
Of course.
And I thought accounting was numbers, but it's not. It's about the depreciation, the laws, and that kind of
Yes,
thing.
yes.
So the question is, when you're looking at a beauty salon and a travel agent, because you have a deep accounting background, you know inside out. Does that make it easier just for you to start looking at that stuff and buying stuff?
You know, it's a good base, right? But you need to also know the industry, and you need to know the marketing that you need to be doing. And you need to know how to sell that product. Like, there's a lot more to it to running a business, obviously.
Right.
The accounting, it's a good base to understand. The
important,
numbers
yeah.
work. Yeah, the numbers work. Makes
Yeah.
sense. When I price here, I'm making this profit. Yes, that's all
So
important,
very
right?
quick. And then when you
Yeah.
sold the stuff, was like depreciations and all
Yeah,
that stuff.
absolutely. And balance sheet. What's an asset? What's a
It
liability?
helps.
Yeah, absolutely helps.
It
Yeah,
helps.
yeah.
It helps.
Absolutely.
So I just wanted to know, because I was like, you have a lot of confidence.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like
now?
No, I mean, like, even back then, like, you have a lot of confidence. You're just
Uh,
out there buying businesses and
Yeah,
maybe just risk
probably,
appetite.
Yeah, probably unfounded confidence.
Okay, yeah, you just didn't know what you didn't know. Yeah. All right. So sorry. Go back to back to the story.
But you know what?
Yeah.
That's buying the salon and it going wrong. It actually brought me down a few notches,
Oh,
which I
interesting.
probably needed, right?
Oh,
Because
I
I
see.
probably did think I was super, and I was, infallible, right? And but
Okay, cool.
when that happened, I'm like, okay, maybe I don't know
as much
as I think I know, so I need to kind of take it a step back. So.
Yeah.
I think it was a good thing in hindsight.
Yeah, for
but
sure.
Yeah, during it was really stressful. But
I talk to so many entrepreneurs now, and it just feels like my risk appetite is like a mice. Like, it's
Yeah.
lower and lower.
Well,
Do you know what I mean?
everyone's
Like,
different, right?
Yeah, people
Yeah.
doing stuff, and people explaining to me. He goes, "That's probably like people. I think they try to make me feel better. They're like, you are taking calculated risks.
yes, that's right. Yeah.
Right.
yeah.
Whereas they like kind of had to take some risks to survive. Some of them. Do you
Yeah.
know what I mean? Like, coming up, like, they had
Yes,
to take
yeah,
some risks that they kind of got used to it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
maybe.
So yeah.
I don't know. Yeah.
But, so-
I think I was still living at home.
Oh, so
Everything
you
was
was,
paid
yeah.
for, whatever. I had some money saved, and I thought,
You
why
had
not?
to give it a couple of
So
crack.
throw it in there, see what happens.
Yeah, so back to the so you got to travel agent 7 years.
Yes.
You're a bit bored.
So I got bored, and
Yep.
then got rid of that,
Mm.
and then. And then so I dabbled into a few other businesses then.
Yep.
So my dad and my brother run a chemical manufacturing
I remember
business.
telling me that part I know. Yeah. And
So
then,
I sort of helped them out
Yep.
for a bit, and then I jumped into a few different businesses in different forms, but I just
Yep.
realized I get bored. Like I can come in, I'm
Yeah.
a problem solver.
Yeah,
That's what I want to do.
okay.
So I want to come in, fix the problem, sort it
Yes.
out, work out,
Yep.
fix it.
Yes.
And then once it's fixed and it's all running smoothly, I'm ready for my next problem to solve.
Yeah. Nice.
So so nearly 10 years ago, it's actually next year's going to be 10 years.
Oh, yeah.
I was talking to my husband about that the other
Yeah,
day. I'm like,
yeah.
we have to have a celebration.
Yeah.
But anyway, 10 years since we started Real Business Matters, and
Yeah.
essentially started off just business coaching.
Yeah.
So it's just one-on-one coaching. I went and did like a executive leadership
Yep.
course.
Yep.
It was like a master's degree
Yep. Oh,
in
legit?
like coaching psychology.
Like proper-
yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, cool. So you
Yeah.
you
Wollongong
still do things
University.
properly. Like, you don't try to
I
wing it.
try.
Yeah. You don't just get a certificate online.
I felt like I needed that for my own
Oh, yeah, yeah.
confidence.
Yeah.
Because if I'm charging someone for something,
Yeah.
I want to make sure that I'm doing it properly.
Yeah.
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 So I started off with family and friends and whatever, and
Okay.
I was doing
Yeah.
it very cheaply or free.
Yeah.
And then it kind of grew from there. And
I think that's how it works too.
yeah,
Yeah. I think
that's right. With any business,
Yeah,
right?
with any business.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I think you do.
especially when you're selling yourself or your own services. Yeah.
So you started that, and then businesses started coming.
Yeah. Then then it kind of grew more into a bit more hands-on than a business coach. So we
Yeah.
initially called it like a part-time or outsourced general manager,
Yes,
where we'd come in
correct,
as a
yeah.
general manager.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then it's kind of been elevated in the last sort of 18 months or so to COO or
Yep.
CFO type
Yes.
of level.
Yep.
So it's still advisory. There's still some advisory and coaching work happening with the owner
Yeah.
predominantly.
Yep.
But it's a bit more hands-on where we'll come in and actually help with the portion of the business where we can.
Yeah. So when we were outside, you were talking about how that came because things wasn't moving fast enough, like,
Yes.
for you.
Yeah.
Because these things happen, I guess, because you give them the steps to do list, but they get swallowed up and
Yes,
nothing
yeah,
gets
yeah.
done.
Well, I just found it counterintuitive where I'd meet with my client and they'd already have a long to-do list, and then I'm giving them more stuff to do, you know.
Okay. So
and I know, and with coaching, that's what you're doing. You're helping them see the things that they don't see.
Yeah.
Helping them, identify areas that they need to focus on, which is important. But they've already got a massive to-do list.
Yeah.
So you're coming in and saying, not only do you have to do that, you also have to do these things because it's important. And it is important. It's just how do they then prioritize and all of that? And I feel once the business owner was back in their business, they were swallowed by everything. And not everyone, right?
No,
not everyone, right?
Yeah.
So a lot of people did have the capacity and to do it, but then a lot of others didn't. And those were the ones I was like, well, why don't you just give me access to that and I'll do it for you? Or why don't you let me speak to the staff member and let me find out what's going on? Or, so it kind of just organically grew into that more hands-on.
And now you kind of go, I guess from a marketing perspective, we call those like your offerings, your scope of work, right? And you feel like that's probably the right sweet spot. Like advisory, looking at the numbers because your accounting background, and a little bit of coaching here and there, but also in there helping doing the work.
Yes,
Certain
absolutely.
hours, that's where the spot is.
Yeah.
Cool. Do you know like the kind of, because people might be watching, people might be listening, they go, well, they might think they're too small, or they might think they're too big, or they might think, like wrong assumptions.
Yes.
Like how would you, I guess not really a sales process, but how would you break down your positioning?
Yeah, it's a good question because I've struggled with that myself, to be completely honest. So with that sort of GM, COO type of role, I would say at least $500,000 turnover plus, right, for that kind of service. And it starts from anywhere between like 2 hours a week up to a day a week. So obviously you don't need to go a day a week with a GM or a CO at that level. Yeah. But maybe 2 hours a week for 2 or 3 months might just help get you to the next level. You know what I mean?
Right. Yes.
Working with the bigger businesses, the one to sort of 3 mil, we find we're in there for a period of time until we jump out and they actually need someone full time. That's where we find the balance there. So it's kind of like a trial. Yep. What does GM actually do? 'Cause some people are like, what does even a GM do? Or COO, why am I paying 6 figures for this role? Yeah. And what exactly are they going to do? So we can come in and actually fill that role part-time and show them the kinds of things that a COO or GM could do. And then they're like, okay, I like this. I need to bring on someone that's full-time.
That's really interesting because you just said about $500,000, right? Yeah. My clients, because I'm advertising, before I was down on the ground, right? Like I always had referrals. So people were already doing ads. Yes. So they were always 1 mil plus. Okay. Right, in terms of revenue. Yeah. 1 to 5 mil is probably my sweet spot. Okay. So when you say $500,000, it's like everyone. Yeah, it's not like out of reach.
Yeah, it's not huge. And it might be just coaching to start off with until they build up to. So it's really just and it's only if they really have a challenge that we can help them solve. So that's really the first step, right? Is to have a chat, understand. Go through a bit of a business assessment, understand what the issues are, and are we the right people to solve them? Because maybe it is just a marketing issue, or maybe it is a sales issue. They're not converting. They've got enough leads, but they're just not converting. So it might not be an operational issue. It might be something else.
And maybe I'm jumping ahead now. And I have a business coach who Belinda Smith. Yes. You guys are very talk and cadences and everything's very different, right? Yeah. So I feel like because of my team, my overseas, they're softer, more subservient. I think she's like more suitable. Yes. That people and that kind of thing. So like every coach is different. Like what would you say your power moves are, your strength?
Probably the numbers side. So if you like a lot of business come to us because they're making good revenue. Yes. But then there's no money left in the bank at the end of the month after they've paid all their bills and stuff. And they're like, we're working our butt off here. And
that's me too. Yeah. So we do a lot of that. Yeah.
So the money side of things is a big one, the profitability side. So we all delve deeper and really understand which service offerings are actually profitable, which ones aren't, where are we over-servicing, where are we, where could we be potentially charging more and all those types of areas.
Interesting.
So the pricing side of things is a really big one. Just operational efficiencies as well. That's a really big one too. So just understanding this task takes this long. Can we do it? Can we automate it? Is there another system we can use? Are all our systems talking to each other? So there's a piece there.
Yes, you'd be able to spot that, and then you'd be able to like talk to the business owner more about that.
Correct.
That's more like the first or second month maybe. Yes. When you first come in.
When you get to know the business a bit more. Yeah.
Yeah. So it'll be very different business per business.
Oh, absolutely. Very different. Yeah, yeah.
All
And
of them.
everyone has different appetites, similar to what you were saying before.
Yeah, I know, yeah.
Yeah, so some people are happy to spend the more and get the fancy, and you
Yeah.
don't need fancy, but you just need something that works and it all
Yeah.
talks to each other. So there's reporting at the end
Yeah.
to help you make the right decisions.
Yeah, okay.
That's really key. So
So in terms of not having money at the end, right? Like what common characteristics are you seeing? Like you just know when you walk in, you go like, yep, that's right, bro.
with service-based businesses, there is a lot of over-servicing that happens. So
Yeah.
essentially, you start off with the scope of work, so
Yep.
you say it's going to cost you X per month or whatever it is, and there tends to be extra work done outside of that scope.
Yep.
That tends to be a common thing. So it's just really about putting a process in when something is out of scope and it's someone else in the business that's got that phone call or whatever. How do we manage that internally and creating
Yep.
a process to make it simple, easy. Like an example on with one of my tradie clients,
Yeah.
he just created a little notebook. So as soon as someone asks for something out of
Yeah.
scope
Yeah.
on site, because it
Yeah.
happened on site, and he's not on every site, right?
Yeah.
He just got them to take out their little notebook and write it down and get the client to sign on it.
Ah,
Just right there and
interesting.
then.
Yeah,
so they
yeah.
say, we want this, and go, okay, that's extra.
Yeah.
Are you happy to sign off? Yep, sign off. And then he takes a photo and sends it to the admin.
To the head of
Yeah,
the
so
situation.
then- So it's just easy processes like that you
Yeah.
can add in place to make it easy for the person to advise that there's been a variation or been an extra piece
Yeah.
of work asked for.
I feel
what,
you.
Yeah, what process can we put in place that can just make everyone's life easy? Because otherwise that would have just been done and no one would have known about it till
yeah.
maybe at the end going, why did we order an extra 10 lights?
Yeah.
Oh, the client asked
Because
for
they
it.
asked it for
It's
the
like,
thing.
well, why didn't you tell us? You know?
Yeah, I feel you. I think that's
Yeah.
a common problem. Even in my business, as in like a digital marketing agency, I mean, AI is a landmine, right? You can go anywhere with AI.
Yes.
Right? You can talk about
So
any
much.
conversation with AI,
Yeah.
right? So with AI being disrupting to our business, you kind of expect it to do more.
Yes.
Because now the guy might not be able to fit 10 light bulbs,
Mm.
but if you're not doing the bits in marketing, they can figure out how to do it themselves.
Yeah,
So
right,
you
right.
kind of like be like, oh well, this technology's come in,
Yeah.
disrupted. You kind of have to do more.
Yes.
'Cause otherwise someone
that's the
take-
expectation.
Let
now.
someone
Yeah,
else
it's
take your lunch
interesting.
off
Yeah.
you, right? So I think that the conversations around the fear of losing clients.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
you
and
don't
I
want to
get
piss
that,
off a
yeah.
big builder, big
Yes.
real estate agent.
Absolutely, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And I feel that too. And even people, when you talk to them about raising their prices, they
Yeah,
get so
yeah,
scared.
yeah,
So they're like,
scary.
but what if
Yeah.
I lose? But if you do the calculation and work out the ones that are at break even or at loss, even
Mate,
if you lost them, you would actually make more money at the
Yeah.
end. You actually have money in the bank.
yeah, that's
so,
right. Yeah.
So it's like, okay, well, fine.
That's the main thing,
That's
huh?
okay if you lose them.
Yep.
But it's just being pragmatic, right? It's just making sure the VIP customers get a phone call and an explanation.
Yeah,
and
that's true.
It's just how you deal with it, I think, is important.
yeah.
And even if you want to keep your VIP clients at those prices, but any new clients coming on board have to be at the newer prices.
Yeah.
And then the ones that are at break even or lower, we have to do something about those because you're running a business, right? It's
yeah.
not a charity, and they understand that. So, and
Yeah.
I think most people, if you call them and explain,
Yeah.
they'll really understand. Cause,
We had to do a few of those, and it's not as scary after you do a few.
Yes.
I think, yeah.
Yeah,
I
I
think
agree.
it's end of the day, it is business. You have
Yeah.
kids, I have a kid.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean? There's bigger things.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
if you lose a client
So
because
be
they
it.
so be it.
Yeah, yeah,
You just
that's
got to
right.
work out a
Okay.
bit more. Yeah.
I think there's enough work out there for everyone, right?
Yeah, I
Like
think
that
so.
whole abundance mindset.
Yeah, yeah.
So if they're not the right fit, they're not the right fit.
Yeah, I think so. Any other financial blind spots that you can?
I think when people are like working out their hourly rates,
Yeah.
I do feel like they sometimes miss a beat. So they'll say, you know, I've got this person, I've hired you and I'm paying you $40 an hour, so I'll charge you out at $70 an hour.
Yeah.
But they don't take into account, they might take into account super and all the associated costs
Yep.
to hiring you. But they might not think about, okay, but I'm paying rent and I'm paying electricity and I'm paying for a car and I'm paying for all these things. And a portion of that has to be allocated to your hourly rate.
Yeah.
And there's ways of doing that. There's, you know, mathematical
math.
ways to do that, to
okay.
work out per hour of my staff, there's an extra $7 per hour that's associated to operational costs. For example, I just picked a number, right?
I know, but I think that's the goal for the audience.
Yeah.
Because that's what they want the numbers person to come in to do.
To do that, yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like
Yes.
they'd be like, well, how much do I charge? Because for example, I have insurance, I have secure devices.
Yep.
Right. I have training.
Of course.
I have to train them up. There's
Yeah,
no
yeah,
use
yeah.
training them up for a competitor.
Yeah,
Because
of
they can just
course.
go and get a higher rate.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
you have to factor that in. So
Yes,
if I'm charging
absolutely.
a 40, if I'm paying $40, like how much do I charge them out?
Yeah. And it's
yeah.
different for every business, right?
Yeah.
So you got to do that calculation. But I find a lot of, in the trades especially, is they'll bring on a subby and the subby will charge them $40 or $50 an hour or whatever.
Yeah.
And they'll charge them out at double and think they're
Yeah.
making money. But at the end of the day, they're breaking even or
Yeah.
not even making money on that particular.
That's a definition
it's
of
just-
spinning the wheel.
Yeah.
That is an absolute definition of spinning the wheel.
Yes,
Try to get
absolutely,
out of. But it
yeah.
sounds like you work with a lot of tradies, so they have to, because tradies might watch this. Tradies might listen to this. They might.
Maybe.
They might. But if there's one guy in an air conditioning van, like
Yeah.
doing aircon, like nah, too small.
It's probably too small.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
Right.
Yeah, it's good. You know what I mean? Like we should talk about this. you know?
That's true.
So
Yeah.
when's there like 4 or 5 vans? Like
Yeah.
they got a truck somewhere and they're running around doing the project managing.
Yeah,
handling
like the
contracts.
$500,000 mark usually is good
Yeah.
to say. Like when you're making $500,000 or more, that's usually a good time
Yeah.
to start thinking about where can I be more efficient?
Okay,
Where
got
can
you.
I? Because
Yeah.
that's usually when they've hired people and they're
Yeah.
Once you have kind of a handful of staff, then it's time to
Yeah, I think
see
so.
how
I
to
s-
do
I
things
see,
better.
I see businesses trying to get there.
Yeah.
Like is there formulas? It probably is, but like do you work with them? Go, all right, when you hit this mark, it's time to get one more person.
Yes.
When you hit that mark, it's the next person.
Yes. Yeah. So
Right.
we have milestones in place.
Milestones.
And it's
yes. Roadmap milestones.
milestones.
All of that, just one word. Say milestones. Okay, cool,
Milestones,
got it.
yes.
Yeah.
So what we do when we first start working with a client usually is we create what their ideal role. Like say, think 5 years in the
Oh,
future.
okay, yeah.
What's your ideal role in the business moving forward?
Yeah.
And that could be 1 year or 2 years, 5 years, right?
Yeah.
And that could be that a lot of business owners want to do the sales and want to talk to clients, but then
Yeah.
they don't want to do the nitty gritty work,
Yeah,
right? They
yeah.
want someone else to do
Yeah.
that, for example.
Yep. Okay. Cool.
So we'll create that role and we'll say, okay, this is what you're doing currently. This is what you want to be doing moving forward. Where's the gap?
Yep.
And then we start creating a future org structure of who can
Future org structure.
take that. So whether it's current people within the team that we're upskilling into
Yes.
those,
Yeah.
or it's a brand new person that comes in and takes that as one role. It might be multiple people that need to take that. Just
Yeah.
depends what it is that you're doing. So it might be that you need to outsource some more to the bookkeeper, that you need to outsource more to the
okay.
admin person, that you might
Yeah.
need to bring in like an ops person, like
Yeah.
an operations manager or someone like that can maybe manage the team, manage the resourcing, manage all that stuff.
Yeah.
Project manager or whatever title that is.
Yeah, you fill in that role.
You fill in, yeah. So it's kind of just putting that in place. So we say, okay, once we hit this revenue
Yeah.
target, we
Yes.
can hire this person. Once we hit that, and it might change. It's not going to be set in stone.
Yeah.
But it gives us kind of a platform. But it makes the
Oh,
owner
yeah.
excited because they're like, if I hit this revenue,
Exactly
it means I
right.
can get someone to do this, so I don't have to do it anymore.
Exactly right.
That's amazing, you know. So
Yeah.
it's a motivator. Right?
Yeah. I can see businesses getting excited about that because they can see the future like
Yeah.
planned out. Like
Yeah.
you can probably, as you're consulting with them, you can see like a visible sign of relief.
Yeah,
They go, I
absolutely.
can see the
Yeah.
light in the tunnel if I just do
A lot
that.
of business owners don't start business because they want to deal with
Nah,
HR problems,
no,
or they
no.
want to deal with
Yeah.
staff not showing up, or they want to deal with finances. They start a business because they enjoy what they do, or they're really passionate about
Yeah.
that service or product or whatever it is that they're doing.
Yeah,
so
cool.
yeah.
I will also add to that, as speaking from personal experience, is that having a coach helps the accountability side of things, because otherwise you drift.
Absolutely,
You
yeah.
drift, and then knowing that you're going to be talking to someone about it is important,
Yes.
especially like the numbers don't lie.
Yes.
And you gotta. So my next bit is in marketing, a lot of people dealing with they've been bitten before.
Okay.
They've been
Yes.
it's jaded
Yeah,
because
yeah.
marketing is marketing. Like there's too many marketing bros, too many voodoo.
There's no barrier to entry. It seems everyone similar to business coach, right? Everyone
Yeah.
call themselves a business coach.
Yeah, marketing is like personal trainers marketing.
Yeah.
Right? It's pretty bad. Yeah. So when they kind of been jaded once, they kind of need more convincing and all that. Probably not your thing because we're all boutiquey. If people are not doing ads, I'm not going to try to convince them to do ads.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's too big of a leap for them.
Yes.
Like, is that same for you? If they kind of know they need coaching kind of thing?
So they usually come to us when they have a problem or refer to us because they have a particular problem.
okay.
So it's
Yeah.
not usually that they're just walking down the street and I'm like, hello, do you need a business coach?
Yeah. So it's not like
usually-
you're peddling the services that way.
No,
They
no.
have to kind
They
of
generally
realize.
would have a problem and they'll ask
Yeah.
their friend or they'll ask their
Yeah.
whatever partner or whatever.
Yeah.
And that's usually the reason they'll come is like, I'm doing all this work and I'm walking away with nothing, or I'm making,
Yeah.
I'm making,
can see it.
there's a common theme where you're working on your own and you're making X, right?
Yeah.
And then you start getting staff and then you're making less money.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
like, what?
yeah, and you get nothing.
The revenue's increased, obviously, and everything's
Yeah.
working nicely, but they're taking away less money. And they're like, what? I should just continue working on my own. Like, what is
Yeah,
this?
and they're
you
going,
know?
going back on your own is like a step backwards. I don't think people like that, huh?
To go
Like,
back to
solo.
Some people have gone from like 20 back to 5.
I know,
say.
yeah, like-
so that's okay, I think.
Oh,
I think
okay.
it's
They've
just
gone too
yeah, they've
big,
gone too big,
out of
and it's
control.
just
Yeah,
they don't want to manage that. They don't want to deal with it. They
Yeah.
don't want to have to hire a full time
Yeah.
general manager or someone like that to manage all that for them.
Got
So
you.
they're like, no, I was less stressed when it was 5
It
people.
was, because
And
that's a big
okay.
payroll, big responsibilities.
Yeah, huge.
Start doing services that you're not really catered for,
Enjoying
enjoying,
anymore.
that
Yeah.
kind of thing.
Yes.
Let's talk about, because I read a lot about this business stuff because I enjoy it.
Yeah.
The systems and stuff, right? And there's household systems like the traction system, the level 10 meetings, all that. I don't know if you've heard of that stuff.
Yeah,
like,
I have, yeah.
Like I don't know. Are you a believer in adapting one of them? Personality
Yeah.
tests and all that stuff.
Personality tests?
Yeah, like personality,
We do disc profiles. And
Okay,
stuff.
cool.
So
Oh, you
disc
do
is
do
probably
it.
the
So-
the stuff we do.
You never know where you're going to go when you're asking.
So disc I find is really good to understanding yourself, because the report's really detailed in terms of understanding what motivates you, what helps you, how should I talk to you, or how should I
Yeah.
not talk to you, what do you like, what do you
okay.
dislike.
Yeah.
And then when doing it in a team is really good, because then you understand each other really
Yeah.
well. And then it's a language you can use. Say if you're a high I, and say, oh, you're a high I, I'm a high S. You're an
Yeah.
extrovert, I'm an introvert, so let's make sure we
Yeah.
align, speak in the right way to each other
Okay.
and all these types of things. So
Right.
it is a nice way to kind of help.
Yeah.
The other stuff, so there's traction, there's EOS, there's all
Yeah,
these
yeah,
different
yeah,
things,
exactly,
right?
yeah,
So
yeah.
we've read all the books, like
Yes.
we understand,
Yeah.
but I feel like you need to customize it to the needs
100%.
and the wants of the business owner.
appetite
right?
as
Yeah,
well,
because
right?
if you come to a business owner, he's like, you need to have this many meetings a week and you need to talk to this person one-on-one and you
Yeah.
need to do this. The business owner's going to be like, whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, it's too overwhelming. I'm
There's
not
no
doing...
appetite for that.
Yeah, yeah.
Like we're talking about EOS, you're talking about like level 10 meetings where
Yeah.
everybody's there. Oh man,
And don't get me wrong, these work.
Yeah,
If
yeah.
you implement all this stuff, it
Yeah.
actually does work.
Yeah.
Like there's no question about it. But not all, especially smaller businesses,
Yeah, they can't
will
do it.
have the want to keep it up. I guess they're
Yeah.
not gonna. They might do it for a couple of weeks, and then it'll just
Priority,
it's either priority thing or it's like I don't know, just not important enough
Yeah,
for them.
I
Maybe
feel you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even though they are important to have
Yeah,
meetings, so
I understand,
I try
yeah.
to put things in place that I know they're going to do. So we'll start off as baby steps, like, okay, let's
Yeah.
start once a fortnight. We're going to have
Yeah.
a team meeting, and this is the
Yeah.
agenda, this is the outcomes, and this is what we're going to be covering. So then it's very clear. We're not just there chitter-chattering.
Yeah.
It's actually a clear reason
That's
why we're
good.
having this meeting.
You can help
right?
run it because
Yeah.
these brutes and
Yeah.
tradies, they're
They
not
don't
running
enjoy
nothing.
that stuff,
They're
yeah.
not running nothing.
Yeah.
Also, I think that, thinking back when I was 13, 14 years old, when I was in fast food,
Yeah.
man, I'll sit there all day listening to this, whatever you want to talk about. I'm getting paid.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
right.
but I
yeah.
definitely wasn't. I definitely shouldn't have been in that meeting. Does that make sense? I should have been out flipping burgers. You know what I mean? Like I need you
It's a
out
waste
there.
of-
It's a waste
yeah.
of time.
Yeah, yeah.
Because my head might be somewhere else.
Yeah.
My head might be like, man, I'm gonna be here 2 months and I'm gone. Do you know what I mean?
I
Like-
can't wait till my friend comes over tonight to hang out or whatever.
Yeah, that's right. So
yeah.
I might not even be here in 2 months.
Yeah.
Like, so I think that's some of the systems are too rigid.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah, that's what I think. But
So
it's
we'll
good to know,
customize it, like just
Yeah.
to make sure not only that it's implemented, but that they follow it, and
Yeah.
and it makes a difference, right?
Oh, definitely, yeah.
Because having one-to-ones every week is not
Yeah.
always.
Yeah.
Like if everyone's on site all the time and whatever, imagine having to go and have a one-to-one with everyone
Yeah.
every week. Like that's
Not practical.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
not
it
practical.
doesn't make sense.
Yeah,
and
so-
we don't just work with tradies, by the way. It's a
Yeah, no, I know, yeah.
but service based, but yeah.
I think if you're talking about white collar stuff inside the office makes more sense.
Yeah.
All these systems make more
But
sense.
even that can be cumbersome. Like having to have a
Yeah.
one-to-one with everyone.
Yeah.
If you're one business owner, you've got 10 staff.
Just running around.
That's a
yeah.
lot.
And
Like a
it's
lot of
too many
one-to-ones
meetings. Not
regularly.
everybody wants to do that, right? They
And
should be working.
They
that
should
time.
have one-to-ones. Like that's really important. But
Yeah.
it's just how often and
Yeah.
what are we going to stick to? What's realistic?
Yeah.
And you can start off like quarterly and then move it to monthly and
If
then
it's
whatever.
required.
Yeah, and just
Yeah.
see how it kind of works.
Well, it's good to know
yeah.
about systems. I always wanted to know about
Yeah.
systems and things like that. In terms of like many people use marketing services,
Mm.
and they are always underwhelmed
Yeah.
of how little
Because
they
they
get.
expect so much.
Yeah, they
and
expect so much. They've been sold,
yeah.
right? They've been sold the dragon's head, the Chinese call it, right? And then you got a rat's tail. That's what they call it.
Right,
Yeah,
yeah,
so
yeah.
because the marketing is always very good because they're good at marketing.
Yeah,
They're
of
good at
course.
slides and sales pitches
Yeah,
and,
yeah.
you know, that kind of thing. With your services, I'm sure that's not the case with your services, but like what do people go, oh, this is a surprise. I didn't know you even do that. And what are things
When
that...
I do the sales pitch, you mean?
No,
Or-
when you actually come into the business as a fractional COO and CFO, when they give you access to
Yeah,
their
yeah.
QuickBooks and their things.
What is a surprise? Maybe the people side of things, because sometimes the business owner might not see things that are happening with the team dynamic.
Yeah.
That might be happening not behind closed doors, but
Yeah.
not in front of them necessarily. So we
Yeah.
might notice there's a toxic employee
Yeah.
that's going
Oh,
around
interesting,
and
really?
causing some issues. Yeah,
Really?
and they might not realize because
Yeah.
they're not with them all the time.
Yeah.
So just little things like that. Once you're in there, because we physically like to be embedded in the business, and
I
we
like
like to
that.
attend team meetings, and we like
Yeah.
to kind of get a feel of the whole thing, because you're
Yeah.
getting the business owner's perspective, but it's not always the whole story.
Yeah, you're going into
So it's
there,
nice to
Yeah.
hear perspectives from other people in the business, and you do it casually, just to kind of.
okay.
It's not a formal. Let's sit down and tell me these 5 questions, whatever. It's more just, oh, so how long have you been in the business? Oh, what do you like
Yeah.
about it? What's not working really well? What
Yeah, the
do you
feedback,
think
okay.
could improve? You
Yeah.
know, that type of thing, and just make it casual.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
tend to get really
re-
good
real stuff.
answers from
Yeah.
that.
Mostly,
so yeah.
I think it'll be productive.
Yeah.
I think you're not looking for the toxic employee, right?
No,
You're just
no.
looking to improve the thing, and
Yeah,
then
yeah.
eventually something surfaces, bubbles up. There was a book by Ben Horowitz. I probably butchered his name, and one line in there I really remember because I don't have appetite for politics.
Yes.
Right, and one line in there made me change the way I think. He said the bosses that has the least appetite for politics has the most political organizations.
Oh, isn't
underneath
that
them.
interesting?
Yeah.
Do you feel that?
I don't, because I had to step my game up.
Okay.
I had to step my game up.
Okay.
And then I'd be like, I can't ignore it.
Yeah, yeah.
Because politics now, to me, after like 10 years ago, whatever, when I read that book, is just a maneuvering of resources to get a job done.
Yeah, right.
Right, so people are just juggling position to figure out how to get the best resources to get the stuff done.
Yeah.
So they're presenting the best case forward.
Okay.
That's the way I'm thinking about it. I speak to you, I speak to some other coaches in our BNI chapters. It just feels like, and there's a question that comes, but I'll just doing this my bit first. It feels like it's like you guys are really good at numbers, right? And I feel like my fear is that you will go and say, yeah, you need to cut these 2 employees. But I like these 2 employees.
Yeah, yeah.
And you're going to ask me, so are you running a business? Or are you running a friendship circle? Or what?
Yeah,
Then,
what's going on here?
Yeah, what's going on here?
Yeah, yeah,
then
yeah.
I'm forced to cut these 2 employees because, you know, you made me realize something.
Yes,
Like that's,
yeah.
but that's also anxiety driven.
Of course, yeah, yeah.
Do you know what I'm
I
saying?
don't think
Yeah.
we'd ever come and say that.
Okay, cool.
But I
right.
think it's more
us.
that
Yeah,
it's
okay.
more going to be you need to increase your revenue by this much to warrant keeping all this stuff, right?
Yeah, so the positive side of it.
But
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
we need to maybe find a way, if not cutting stuff, maybe reducing them to part-time for a period of time until we're back to whatever,
Whatever
coming
number
up with a
is.
solution with you.
Okay.
Like I would never come to you and say, Jeremy, you have to do this, otherwise
Yeah.
that's it. You're, because
yeah.
obviously the business has been running till
Yeah,
now in
yeah.
that format,
Yes,
so
yeah.
it works to a point, right? So
So it's like a
it might
broken,
not
yeah.
give you exactly what you're wanting right now, but
Yeah.
it's giving you enough.
Yeah.
So if you're happy continuing on as is, then you don't need a coach. Just keep going.
Yeah, so yeah, I got you. So it's not really cut and dry that way.
No, no.
And there are, I guess, I don't know if I'm trying to talk myself into something, but there are also intangible benefits.
Yeah.
Some things that are not reflected on a balance sheet.
Yes.
Perhaps they could be trained, they could be repositioned,
Absolutely.
they could
Yeah,
be
yeah.
psyched up again.
Yes,
Maybe they
yeah.
don't even realize there's a problem.
Or maybe it's then incentivizing them to help you go out and get more business,
Yeah,
for
yeah,
example.
yeah.
Like get more work from your current clients. So maybe we would do a strategy with them. It's like, guys, we need to increase revenue this month by whatever,
Yeah.
10 grand.
Yeah.
So can you go, as you're talking to clients, just say, you know what, we actually do this in this service. What else
I
would
love
you
it.
like? You know,
Yeah.
things
Let me
like
think
that,
about
right?
that.
Yeah,
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 let me
yeah.
think about
So
it like that.
just incentivizing them to then even help solve the problem.
Yeah.
This is not, you got to remember that the problem is not just always your problem. Like
Yeah,
share
yeah.
the problem
Share
with
it,
the
yeah.
team.
Yeah.
Like obviously to a point, you're obviously not
Yeah,
going to
yeah,
say,
yeah.
I can't pay your
Yeah,
salaries
yeah.
next month. You
For
don't want to
sure.
share that necessarily.
No,
But-
definitely.
But if there's a problem, say, listen, guys, I'm really stuck. I've got these ideas. What do you think? And you'll be surprised. You might actually get some some good ideas from them, or they'll buy into your idea and off it
run
goes.
with
You know,
it, yeah.
like
No, it's good.
there's innovative ways to do things.
Yeah, and that's what you also help the businesses do, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
So going full circle now back to the very beginning about boredom, right? So I was listening to some consultancy stuff on the way here, right?
Okay.
Talking about codependence.
Okay.
Like agency game, right? Marketing agency, it's a codependence.
Yes.
They don't want to click those buttons. They don't want to learn. They don't want to stay updated.
Yeah.
It's codependence. For coaching, do you go into the engagement as like we're gonna be retainer for married forever? You go, there's a time period.
No, I get bored, Jeremy.
Yeah, that's
Remember
what I
told
mean.
you?
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's boredom.
can't.
So you look for
So it's usually
time
like
period.
a 3 to 6 month engagement.
That's it.
Yeah, for the GM stuff. So then
Yeah.
we have a peer advisory board
Yeah.
group that we
Yeah.
use. So generally what we do is we come in and we help the CEO move into their ideal role. That's the aim,
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
head towards there at least.
I like it.
And so once they're in their ideal role, they're now kind of in that C-suite role where they're not entrenched in all the weeds anymore. They've been stepped out. We've either inserted another GM, like a full-time
Yep.
GM or operations manager or
A
project
permanent,
manager,
permanent
a
solution.
permanent person.
Yeah, permanent solution.
And we've jumped out. And then we invite them into like an advisory board. So the advisory board is like a monthly get together with your peers. So it's
Yeah.
other business owners running similar sized businesses to you.
Yep.
And you all bring your challenges, opportunities, and we share ideas and we help each other.
I see it now.
And so
I see how
that's-
this
yeah,
comes
that's
together
kind of
now.
the-
That's the other thing that we've done together.
Yes.
That I've been
Correct.
attending.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
That's
Yeah.
excellent. So yeah, that's pretty much it, man. Was there anything else? Do you feel like we didn't cover? Like you want the people to know?
No, I don't think so. I think we covered
We covered
pretty
a
much
lot, huh?
everything. Yeah.
You know what I don't like? Well, just me personally. Guys, in person. There's nothing to do with, this is my own opinion. Because I'm not very good at sales, I feel like retainer works great for me.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Sometimes I do more, some weeks I do less. The game goes on.
Yes.
But for your one, 3 to 6 months, you kind of have to, go out there and look for more business.
Yeah, so we create a pipeline, obviously.
Yeah.
And the advisory boards, it's like either side. Sometimes people join advisory boards
Yes.
first,
Yeah.
and then they end up working
Got
with
you.
us, right? So
That could
we
be
have that
pipeline.
feed as well
Yeah.
into the advisory boards, and it changes. So we might work with someone for 6 months, and then they'll go and join an advisory board for say 12 months, and then they'll come back and need our services again for
Got you.
another 3 to 6 months just to help solve a problem or help them transition from, okay, we want to now use this inventory system, not this one. And we need to transition from this to this, and we need to get training.
Yeah.
So we'll just manage it for them.
It's like what I think they call it a symbiotic.
Symbiotic relationship.
that kind of thing,
Exactly.
Kind of works like full circle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, you have your regular referral partners, obviously, that
Yes.
you're working closely with. So accountants are big referral partners for us. And we sometimes work with them in a white label fashion.
Yep.
So we'll come in and work with their client as if we're part of the accounting firm.
Oh, you can do that?
Yeah.
Is there such thing?
Yeah.
Accounting has
Oh,
like
we-
coaching behind it as well, like some of them?
So they do like a CFO service to a point,
got you.
right?
Yeah,
but they
yeah.
won't have
Yeah.
time to go in and delve into the operations.
Yeah,
so
that's
that's what
right.
we'll do. So if they've helped to the maximum that they could provide, because obviously accountants are generally very
Specialists.
busy
Yeah,
and they're
specialists,
doing
yeah.
compliance as well as
Yeah.
that, we'll come in and deep dive into the operations and really work
love
out where the problems are, and then we'll come back and work with the accountant to help the client.
Got you.
So
Okay.
we're working hand in hand with
Oh,
the
okay,
accountant.
I understand now. Because the partnership is that sometimes if the accountant doesn't help that part of it, like that business might not grow or...
Yeah, correct. Yeah.
So it helps the accountant as well.
As
Now
well,
he's got
yeah.
more work for him.
And
he's got
it's a growing client as opposed to a
Yeah.
struggling client,
growing client,
Yeah.
more tricks, more tactics they can implement with
Yes,
them.
yeah,
And
yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah, cool. I love it.
Yeah, so that helps with the regular sort of,
Yeah.
I guess, lead flow, because we've got a few accountants that we work with like that.
Yeah.
So it is hard, but I actually enjoy sales. That's,
there
that's
you
one of my
go.
favorite part of my role. Is
Yeah,
actually going out and
okay.
talking to people, understanding their challenges,
Yeah.
and then
And
doing
like putting a
the
little bit
pitch,
of-
I guess.
Yeah,
No
yeah.
hard sells, of course.
No,
but
no,
just,
hard sell, no
yeah,
hard sales.
just
No, and you have the other thing that that I've attended, the
other quarterly planning
the
days.
quarter planning days. Yeah,
so
that's a pipeline too,
Yeah,
right?
because I feel like there's smaller clients
Yes.
that you probably don't fit that exact mold, but the smaller clients that probably don't fit in either of those. They
Right.
don't need a GM or CFO, or they don't maybe need
Yeah.
the advisory boards yet.
Yeah,
And they'll fit. So there's usually five or less staff members.
yeah.
But they still need support. So we just meet quarterly and we go through what happened last
Very
quarter,
enlightening.
what's happening next quarter, and just keep them focused on what they need to focus on for the next quarter.
I think it's a great entry offer. I'm
Yeah,
a
yeah.
candidate. I'm attending the next one. I think it's
Yeah.
a really good entry offer.
Oh,
So
thanks.
because people can get to know you,
Yes.
get a feel of you. And then a lot of the misconceptions, a lot of the myth, a lot of the fears, it goes out the window.
Yeah, that's
Right,
true.
and they can
yeah.
be like, all right, when I get to this stage, I will love to work with her. You know?
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
that's a great thing. Yeah, tell people your what's the website? How can people find you nowadays?
So it's realbusinessmatters.com.au and probably LinkedIn. So on my
Are you
personal
pretty
LinkedIn.
active? Are you pretty active on LinkedIn?
kind of.
You do all right.
I like ebb and flow, you know.
yeah.
I do a bit and then I forget and then I do a bit and then But when I'm
Yeah.
speaking or when I'm at an event, I try to take photos and try to post it and all this sort of stuff.
We'll post this stuff as
Yeah.
well. Yeah, we'll post it. We'll post all this as well.
Yes.
Cool, man. I think that's so helpful. Thanks again
Thank
for your
you.
time. It's shout out to Balaji on the boards. Thank you, buddy. Shout out to storytellersaustralia.au
Yes, thank you.
once again for having the facility, and it's going to turn out great. Okay, thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you. Hey, what's up? Jeremy Yang, the online ads guy here, owner of Digital Growth Marketing. If you found whatever you're watching helpful, you found it interesting, like, subscribe, comment, suggest other topics you think we should cover here. We've aimed to release weekly episodes, helping SMEs with marketing, advertising, talking to professionals about growth, processes, all that good stuff. All right, see you on the next one.